Dad, why is the end of the starry sky golden? That's the radiance emanating from the star walls. What is a star wall? That is the power field barrier forged by His Majesty the Dragon God for us. Who is your Majesty the Dragon God? On the bridge of the spaceship, the young father smiled and picked up his child, gazing into the depths of the starry sky. There stands a wall of power stretching billions of kilometers, and the planet is as small as dust in front of it. He is the Dragon God of Might, the guardian of the universe, the eternal awakener, and the successor of Bahamut. He is the King of Ambers, Oren. Keywords of the novel. Amber Oath of Power Dragon with no pop-ups, complete collection download of Amber Oath of Power Dragon TXT, latest chapter reading of Amber Oath of Power Dragon. Chapter 1. Born Between Stars. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 1 Born Between Stars. What happened? How did I faint? Oren woke up in the darkness. Who turned off the lights in my room? No, we need to get up quickly. The financial monthly report PPT is not finished yet. At the thought of the pile-up of work, Oren felt a splitting headache. However, just as he was about to get up from the bed, he immediately felt something was wrong. There is no bed support underneath him, and there are no switches for electric lights around him. Oren felt as if he was floating in a warm and lifeless body of water, enveloped in a strange and fragrant yet slightly fishy liquid. He seemed to be in a curled-up state, unable to move at all. There is an inexplicable sensation in the back and coccyx, and the neck seems to have become very long. Oren wanted to shout for help loudly, but found himself unable to make a sound. Subsequently, a wave of drowsiness struck, and he once again fell heavily into the black and sweet countryside. I don't know how long it has been. In a hazy dream, he returned to his rented house in a daze. Holding a remote meeting on the computer, the sharp and sarcastic menopausal boss scolded the business department in the chat room while rushing through a pile of reports. Late at night, there was a sudden cramp in the left chest, followed by a blackout in both eyes. Don't. Oren shouted in his heart and immediately woke up from the nightmare. Opening my eyes, I still saw the familiar darkness before me. Surprisingly, this enclosed and lifeless place made him feel indescribable relaxation and peace of mind. Suddenly, a suspicious mechanical sound sounded in my ear. The Dragon Inheritance Assistance System is currently being activated. A few seconds later, a golden screen with a faint sense of light suddenly appeared in Oren's mind, and lines of text appeared on it. Name: Oluwan, gender: male, race: Power Dragon, young dragon, health level 14, occupation: currently unavailable. What? System: Power Dragon. The current situation and this strange system pop-up suddenly caused Oren's brain to crash for a while. He barely calmed down in the darkness, quickly sorted out the current situation and information, and quickly came to a definite conclusion. I have traveled by myself. You have traveled to a dragon egg and completely stopped being human. Fortunately, God bought one get one free and gave him a system that looked like a beginner's navigation. It is obvious that the world traversed by Oren is closely related to TRPG Dragons and Dungeons. In this vast worldview named after dragons, the Power Dragon is one of the 3 legendary dragons, the embodiment of cosmic power, with a long lifespan and extremely powerful power. They are born with extraordinary and majestic power, overlooking the mortal world and even disdaining their mediocre counterparts. Oren felt a wave of happiness about it. Because he knows what a damn world it is. The saints of the gods walk on the earth, spreading miracles and misfortunes recklessly. Between the stars drifted an indescribable giant evil, descending upon each vibrant planet with filthy destruction. On the outer side of distant lands, endless distortions and monsters are pounding the gates of reality in the world, ready to bring a grand and terrifying sacrifice to the entire universe at any time. If he had traveled through time and become an ordinary human farmer, there is a high probability that he would have died one day from an unknown AoE. As a power dragon nowadays, he was born with a powerful power comparable to that of a young true dragon and a high-level professional. He can say without any modesty, the end point of some people/dragons is their starting point. Thinking of this, Oren became excited and filled himself with anticipation and hope for his future. As for the 1T learning materials and countless browsing records in the computer of my past life, it doesn't matter at all. Anyway, it's the human Oren who died in the society, not the powerful dragon Oren. At this point, he had already felt the cramped space of the eggshell, and the liquid nutrients inside the shell had become thin, filling himself with strength. It is obvious that the time has come to break the shell. Oren struggled to shrug his body, waving his forelimbs, and his sharp dragon claws vigorously pounded the eggshell. The resilient dragon wings spread out vigorously, trying to open a gap. I could only hear a sound of tinkling and ping-pong. Sleeping trough, how hard my eggshell looks like alloy. Oren is stunned, his dragon claws have captured sparks. The frictional flames shone brightly in the dark space. Fortunately, the power of the young dragon cubs is not vegetarian either. With a powerful swing from Oren, a crack finally appeared in the hard, steel-like eggshell. Then came 1, 2. And in the end, only a loud bang was heard, and the entire steel plate. Oh no, the eggshell flew out. The shiny dragon claws scraped against the edge of the broken eggshell, and Oren's head finally protruded. The long dragon kiss suddenly opened, emitting the firstborn dragon roar. Dovath da va non untaden kodaf thuri los valtiak Oren. But the next second, he felt a strange and contradictory feeling. The expected surging fresh air did not exist, and the surroundings were even quieter and terrifying. Oren opened his eyes in confusion, and the sight in front of him immediately made his dragon pupils wide open. I saw the vastness of the universe, with billions of stars shining brightly. The young dragon bathed in the ancient starlight and descended into this vast void, proclaiming its true name to countless worlds. The vast space, unable to reach the sky or the ground. Oren flew gloomily among the stars, wrapped in a layer of glowing power shield. Fortunately, he is a legendary power dragon with the characteristics of outer creatures. Not only can he control the direction of power, but he can also survive in a vacuum environment without air. As for food, it's not a problem either. Power dragons have a very special talent. They can absorb the energy of magic and power fields to sustain life. Relying on the subtle energy brought by the gravitational tides of the stars, Oren could barely fill his stomach and not starve to death in space. He can also swallow gases and dust from the universe, living like whales absorbing plankton. As for excretion, that's not a problem anymore. As the saying goes, there is a toilet in the heart, and the universe is a toilet everywhere. Of course, the cold of a vacuum environment is also extremely deadly to living organisms. But as a powerful dragon, Oren not only possesses extremely strong vitality, but also controls the force field shield to cover the entire body, restraining the dissipation of heat. In addition, the power shield can also protect him from the bombardment of meteors. Yes, the bombardment of meteors. What a damn thing! Oren roared in his heart. This beautiful and vast space is filled with tiny meteors flying around like bullets. If we switch to other species of juvenile dragons, they may have died hundreds of times already. The more Oren thinks, the more frustrated he becomes. The beginning of an orphan's past life is just that. How can he still be an orphan after being reborn? The imagined dragon mother and father, as well as the warm and comfortable dragon nest, have not been seen at all. And how did they throw dragon eggs into space? For what purpose? Alas, roast belongs to roast, and life has to go on. Oren is working hard to search for planets where life exists. He looked around and suddenly realized that his spatial area seemed to have experienced an exceptionally violent explosion. The space, which should have been cold and desolate, still retains some residual warmth, with strange substances floating everywhere that are burnt black and melted, unable to be seen at a glance. Occasionally, some unidentifiable biological remains can be seen. In the distance, there is a huge amount of liquid that looks like seawater, forming a super large water ball with a diameter of 5 or 6 kilometers, quietly floating in space, magnificent. Sleeping trough, what exactly exploded? End of this chapter. Chapter 2. Diligent little dragon, build a nest in the starry sky. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 2. Diligent little dragon, build a nest in the starry sky. Oren scanned the vast space ruins in front of him with shock, while stirring up the energy of the force field, quickly shuttling through the ruins, hoping to find some well-preserved food and useful things. However, the explosion deep in the starry sky was truly violent, and the vast majority of things turned into easily crushed coke. I don't know how long it took, but when Oren's search was fruitless and he was preparing to give up in frustration, a bright light flashed from the corner of his eye. This light seems to emanate from the edge of a large molten steel block. Oren hurriedly flew over to check. Wow, it's actually a huge and unparalleled safe. Almost as big as Oren's entire dragon. You should know that although Oren is a young dragon, he is a legendary dragon, much larger than the color and metal dragon race. His current body size is comparable to a small house. The volume of this safe can be imagined. The entire body of the box is made of some dark brown metal, with intricate and beautiful runes engraved on the surface. However, the lock part has been severely damaged, and at this moment, Tai is buried in the molten steel block. Euron immediately opened his dragon kiss, and the rushing blazing light converged in his mouth, sending a brilliant silver dragon breath crashing straight up. This dragon breath is composed of pure force field energy, which instantly shatters the charred steel block. The safe immediately fell off and was embraced by Oren. I never expected to find a treasure chest in space. Euron happily squinted his dragon eyes, lifted his sharp claws, and forcefully pried open the lid of the box, burying half of the dragon's body in pulling it. After spending some time cleaning up the pile of debris, he pulled up an item from the depths of the box. This is a floor-to-ceiling mirror with a volume comparable to the entrance of a house. The frame of the mirror is made of an unknown strange metal, as if there is a glow flowing within it. The colorful flower buds and green vines intertwined on the mirror frame, appearing exceptionally magnificent against the deep space backdrop. Oren held the big mirror and looked up, but didn't see any clues. He could indeed perceive that the mirror contained powerful magical energy. However, his spell casting relies entirely on the instincts of the dragon race, and his spell recognition ability is not up to par, making it impossible to analyze the type of magic on the mirror. Oren had to stuff the mirror back into the box. But no matter what, at the moment when all other items were shattered, this mirror was still intact, obviously of extraordinary quality. Combined with the powerful magic surging in it, it may be a legendary wonder. As for the box itself, if it could survive such a devastating explosion, it should also be a treasure. And there is no gravity in space, so Orenzo has to carry the entire box. If you encounter any treasures on the road, you can simply put them in a box. Just as Oren was about to withdraw, the dragon claw suddenly touched a small bump. With a click, a hidden compartment popped up deep inside the box. Ha! Oren was surprised and then delighted. Sleeping trough, do you actually have hidden treasures? He quickly rushed back to the treasure chest, reached out his toes and claws, carefully opened the hidden compartment, and took out the contents inside. This is a platinum-like smooth and beautiful metal ring that looks like a ring. A row of elegant inscriptions were etched on it. Oren scrutinized carefully, but couldn't see anything either. He didn't even sense any magical power on this ring. It shouldn't be, such a hidden item doesn't have any special power. At the moment of his confusion, the metal ring suddenly grew larger. The young dragon was startled and quickly withdrew its claws like lightning. But the circular ring moved faster than him, and in an instant it was placed on the first toe of his right palm, like a metal ring. In an instant, Oren felt an exceptionally strong and powerful energy flow rushing into his body from the ring, making him shiver uncontrollably. The huge body suddenly lit up, and a condensed and majestic silver light burst out from the diamond-like scales. Detected that the host has obtained an unknown inferior artifact. Detected that the host has completed synchronization with inferior artifacts. The host gains an extraordinary feature. Divine craftsmanship. Note: the Ghost Axe divine technique can make any magic with a force field effect permanent. The system, which had been silent for a long time, finally went online and emitted a beep. I'll go, this ring is actually a second rate artifact. According to Oren's understanding of this world, inferior artifacts are even rarer than legendary artifacts, often created by extremely powerful high-level legendary mages or even semi-divine beings. Each item is unique. That's really making a fortune. Moreover, the magical constancy brought about by the supernatural craftsmanship is an extremely powerful secret technique. Because the duration of most magic is quite short, only the magic constant skill can extend these magical effects to permanent. But such skills are extremely difficult. Even a seemingly simple flame enchantment requires a skilled mage to spend nearly a day continuously guiding the energy of the secret spell, carefully weaving it onto the enchanted object. There is a risk of magic exploding in the event of failure. This circular and inferior artifact can skip the complicated casting process and directly achieve a constant effect of magic, with a success rate of 100%. Even for power magic alone, it can be considered extremely astonishing. Oren was ecstatic in his heart. He scrutinized the inscription on the ring. With the blessing of the One Ring spell, understanding language, Oren deciphered the meaning of the inscription. Dedicated to my beloved stars. Oren was confused. Could it be that this artifact was a gift between a legendary couple? Or is it a humble gift from some divine level licking dog? Forget it, as long as it works. Since it is claimed to be a gift to the stars, this artifact will be called the Star Ring in the future. Just as he was about to try out the Star Ring, the system issued a prompt again. Novice Dragon Task 1 has been launched. Please create your own dragon nest for the host. After completing the task, you can obtain 0 magic rings. Thunderbolt Strike. Oren looked and snorted, spitting out 2 silver fireworks in dissatisfaction. Just reward me with a 0 ring magic. And in this space environment where there is no force on all sides, how can we build a dragon's nest? But he quickly remembered the characteristics of the Star Ring and his extraordinary power as a powerful dragon. In a vacuum environment, building a nest with ordinary sand, stones, and soil is a dream, but what if a magical force field is used to build a dragon's nest? With the Star Ring, power magic effects will permanently exist. Having figured this out, Oren waved his wings and slapped his thighs, saying, "Do it." About half an hour later, he flew to a relatively open space area. There isn't much space debris floating here, which makes it easier for him to sketch the blueprint for his home. Firstly, the foundation for building the dragon nest. Oren looked serious, raised his right paw, opened his dragon kiss, and spat out a series of obscure yet profound dragon language. Folio Gronal Sako Du. A power sphere emitting a faint light suddenly emerged, its volume equivalent to a 2-story small building. Like a huge soap bubble, quietly floating in the universe. This is a powerful magic that Oren was born to master, a 4-ring elastic magic ball. Although it looks like a big bubble, it is actually incredibly hard and tough. Nothing, including physical objects, energy, or other magical effects, can interfere with the interior of a sphere. Even if there are ghosts, and other virtual entities, they cannot penetrate this thin layer of power barrier. The power attribute is so domineering. Unless it is dissociation, fragmentation magic, or divine intervention, other methods are difficult to work with the energy of the force field. Oren looked at the successful use of the 4 rings magic and nodded his dragon head with satisfaction. He extended his paw again and aimed at the magic ball to shoot a silver energy stream, continuously injecting magic. The already large elastic ball immediately expands, like an inflated ball, continuously increasing in volume. After a long time, the elastic ball in front of Oren suddenly turned into a spherical giant with a diameter of over 100 meters. He himself was almost exhausted. A bit too much force. Oren lifted his dragon paw and rubbed his head. Fortunately, all of this is worth it. The so-called towering building rises from the ground, and this giant elastic magic ball will become the perfect foundation for the space dragon nest. Taking a short rest, the young chick dragon regained its vitality. Move bricks. Move bricks. Oren lifted his shoulder and stroked it with his dragon palm, activating the meridians and bones, officially starting a new round of home construction activities. He extended his paw toe wearing a star ring and, at a moment in the void, immediately generated a semi-transparent, force-building brick. This is the zero-ring magic unique to the Power Dragon. Power Brick. Zero-ring magic is also known as magic. Unlike magic in other rings, they have the simplest magical structure. Skilled spellcasters can effortlessly evoke such magical effects, allowing for unlimited release of spells. At this time, Oluan Jingyuan is continuously producing energy-efficient bricks. 1, 2, 3. 10, 100, 1,000. The vast space area around is soon filled with these semi-transparent energy creations. Oren carefully lifted 2 power bricks and used the ability to manipulate the power field to melt them into one. Success! Euler jumped 3 meters high with joy. He immediately waved his dragon claws and quickly built 2 huge force field isolation boards like building blocks. Placed them horizontally in the middle of the elastic ball. The entire magic ball was immediately divided into 3 regions by 2 circular force energy plates. Upper, middle, and lower. Euron's rise is like playing Minecraft in his past life. He used his strength to create a circular wall with bricks, turning the central area into 2 concentric circles, dividing it into a core area and a circular corridor. Then he continuously added bricks, melted them into walls, and shaped small rooms, for him. The young dragon pierced in and out like a diligent bee, constantly adjusting the shape of the force field and removing unnecessary edges and corners. This is the benefit of using force to build a nest. In addition to being able to manipulate the energy of the force field, power dragons themselves are also immune to all power effects. Therefore, Euler can freely pass through any barrier composed of force fields. If an enemy attacks, it will become a huge battlefield advantage. Time flies by rapidly. Finally done. The powerful young dragon took a deep breath and flew out an elastic magic ball, admiring the behemoth in front of it with a great sense of achievement. I saw this huge sphere emitting a faint radiance standing quietly in the vast space, with countless energy barriers crisscrossing the interior of the sphere, and rooms of varying sizes scattered in an orderly manner. This is Oren's first dragon nest. A small safe house born deep in the starry sky. Oren's bright dragon eyes couldn't help but feel a bit moist. He remembered his previous life's humble abode, a rental room of over 10 square meters that could only accommodate a bed and a small dining table. And the huge spherical force field dragon's nest in front of us has an astonishing volume of millions of cubic meters, which can fit into several skyscrapers without any problem. After being happy, he began planning the living plan for the dragon nest. The core area in the middle of the dragon nest will become your master bedroom in the future, and the circular corridor can be equipped with some traps and a large number of monster guards. The area below the dragon nest can be used to store a variety of food and also serve as a residence for future servants. Above the dragon nest, it is designated as a study and a future stargazing platform, mainly used for studying magic and secrets, and so on. Perfect. Detected that the host has completed the construction of the primary dragon nest. Reward distribution. Zero-ring magic. Thunderbolt strike, please check by the host, Thunderbolt strike. The caster can guide explosive energy to be infused into melee and innate weapons. As the system's warning sound sounded, Oren immediately felt a tiny ripple in his soul. The young dragon lifted its head and a glimmer of lightning flashed in its eyes. He lifted a dragon paw, and thunder swirled between his toes. It's a bit interesting, Oren thought to himself. Although the structure of the magic is simple, its power will become increasingly powerful as the health level increases. Thunder and lightning are also good types of damage. The key is that the art style is very handsome. End of this chapter. Chapter 3. Aliens. Gisyangi people. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 3 Aliens. Gisyangi people. A strange place. The magnificent wall, several tens of meters high, emits a hazy radiance, and the broad dome reflects the Milky Way of the world. Inside this dreamy space, a massive young dragon is lying on the floor counting its treasures. The young dragon has a well-defined and towering dragon head, with a brilliant golden glow surging in its narrow and deep pupils. The temples are adorned with sparkling wing-shaped folds, and the thick and smooth dragon horns form the shape of a crown. The sharp thorns, like sharp blades, start from the head and extend along the spine all the way to the thick and powerful dragon tail. The muscular limbs are well-developed and look very muscular. His whole body was covered with scales that shone like tiny diamonds, and his huge dragon wings shone like stars. Such a handsome young dragon is naturally the true master of Oren. At present, he has just completed the expansion of the Starry Sky Dragon Nest and is boredly examining his wealth. During the construction of the Dragon Nest, Oren discovered many good things in the ruins of the universe. There are two of them that he values the most. The first type is a silver-blue metallic fragment with an extremely hard texture. The second type is some milky white broken stone fragments, emitting a pearl-like sparkling light. These stone fragments are not particularly hard, but they seem to have extremely high resistance to magical energy. It took Oren a long time, but he could only find more than 10 pieces. But regardless of which one, they all emit a strong magical light. Especially those milky white stones, their spiritual radiance shone to the point of almost dazzling. Oren stacked these metals and stones into several small piles and placed them in his room. Along with the previously found treasure chest, it can be considered as the initial wealth of the dragon nest. How boring. He lifted his right paw and propped his head up. Life in space is lonely, and I don't know when I will find a planet where life exists. Although Oren was born as a powerful legendary dragon, as a wise creature, he still yearns for a certain degree of socialization. Furthermore, living all day by absorbing gravitational tidal energy and cosmic dust, Oren's dragon beak would fade out of the bird. Eating too much ash can also lead to constipation. I really want to eat carbon-based organisms. Forget it. Oren opened his mouth and yawned, lying prone to the ground with a loud bang. Dragon is tired, dragon is going to sleep. The distant void. A green flame suddenly lit up in the dark space, and in an instant, the green flame rapidly expanded into a dazzling giant portal. A small spaceship with a strange shape rushed out with a loud roar. Its body is like an iron shuttle, with a gray-black color throughout. A pair of silver wings extend on both sides of the hull, and glass portholes are placed at the bow of the ship. Inside the spacecraft, more than 20 tall and slender humanoid creatures are busy. They have earthy yellow skin with a few dark spots, pointed and long ears, and bat-like noses. Their silver armor is adorned with various gemstones. These creatures have exceptionally swift and agile movements, emitting an aura that has been tempered by the flames of war. Pirates of the Star Realm, Gisyangi people, nightmares of countless material worlds. These powerful intelligent creatures possess powerful spiritual powers and have long resided in the fortresses of the Star Realm. They relied on portals and starships to conquer countless times and spaces, plundering countless worlds. Through war, the Gisyangi people have accumulated tremendous resources and strength over a long period of time. Report sir, Star Zone 12315 has arrived. A curvaceous female Gisyangi saluted a tall figure ahead in the bridge. That is an exceptionally burly male Gisyangi. Although he is thin, every muscle on his body is cast like fine steel, shining with a crystal-clear luster and filled with an indescribable sense of strength. The armor on his body is also extremely gorgeous, decorated with luxurious jewelry and colorful feathers, and engraved with complex spells, emitting a strong magical light. Of particular note is the giant sword he carries, with strands of silver shining through the gaps in the scabbard. He is a knight, an elite member of the Gisyangi. Velakis is up. According to Star Tower's intelligence, there is a giant exchange of plane merchants 30 kilometers ahead. Why hasn't there been a single shadow now? This Gisyangi knight is feeling a bit angry at the moment. His eyes were shining brightly, gazing into the void through the porthole. Captain Laura, are you sure the coordinates of the star region are correct? The female Gisyangi questioned immediately became fearful. Sir, the coordinates of the star area have undergone 13 rounds of screening and were finally confirmed and issued by the chief Star Tower himself. The Gisyangi's knights frowned upon hearing the words and said, the Star Tower chief should not be wrong. He immediately gathered his breath and concentrated his mind, exerting his sharp eyes technique to the extreme, and suddenly saw the current situation of the target area clearly. The exchange does exist, but it has been completely destroyed. How could it be? That's a gathering place for plane merchants. Captain Rala was extremely shocked by this. Plane merchants have a wide range of channels and hold magical powers originating from various planes, even including powerful and unparalleled artifacts such as secondary artifacts. Even legendary spellcasters find it difficult to shake the exchange they are on. The Gisyangi knights were quite calm about this. As a seasoned powerhouse among knights, he has never seen any storms. It's not surprising. These people who engage in surface trade dare to buy and sell anything, and sooner or later they will offend some big shots who cannot be provoked. He said disdainfully, twisting his thick beard on his chin. Follow my command, keep moving forward, shouted the Gisyangi knights. Since the exchange has been destroyed, this trade activity will be cancelled immediately. The current task will be to search for the star area and collect any remaining valuable items. Everyone responded in unison. The Gisyangi sailors are ready at their respective positions, and the spacecraft is moving towards the distance like an arrow leaving a string. When they arrived at the ruins of the plane merchant exchange, what they saw was a scene of coke flying in the sky. According to magical detection, there is a small amount of refined gold in the area. Besides that, the vast majority of things have carbonized under high temperatures, reported a crew member. It seems that the attackers didn't even intend to plunder, they came purely for the sake of destruction, said the Gisyangi knight with an unpleasant expression, but this voyage was a loss. Although refined gold is precious, they don't have time to collect and salvage it bit by bit, and the magic driving energy of the spaceship is limited. Just as he was about to order his return, his sharp-eyed eyes caught a hazy glimmer in the distance. Wait, what's that? The Gisyangi knight quickly ordered the spacecraft to sail in the direction of the shining light. As the spaceship approached, the scene in front of us immediately shook all the Gisyangi people on board deeply. That is a huge sphere with a diameter close to 200 meters, which looks exceptionally perfect. It seems to be cast from the purest glass, quietly floating in space, emitting a hazy and dreamy halo. The light and shadow inside the sphere are blurred, as if there are countless buildings and passages intertwined, as if harboring a strange dream. Oh my goodness! I have never felt such pure and abundant magical power before. A tall, velvety armored female Gisyangi approached, muttering to herself, her eyes fixed on the huge spherical building outside the porthole. That's exactly Oren's dragon nest. Captain Ista, can you recognize what this is? The Gisyangi knight looked at the dragon nest in the starry sky, feeling a bit dazed for a moment. Although he is not specialized in magic, he can still sense the powerful magic overflowing in the dragon nest with the extraordinary talent of the star race. In the vision of the secret law, this huge sphere emits a strong and incomparable magical light, like a burning star in the universe. From the fluctuation of magic, it should be a kind of force field energy. Captain Ista raised his palm against the window, but the force field energy is not as ordinary as flames and frost. It is difficult for ordinary spellcasters to master. Even high-level mages cannot create such magnificent force creations. Captain Ista, do you have a way to see clearly inside the sphere? Asked the Gisyangi's knights. Ista shook her head and said, there's no way. The barrier of the force field isolates the inside and outside, obstructing all entities, virtual bodies, and spiritual bodies. It's also difficult for detective magic to penetrate. Unless you use powerful teleportation magic to cross space. But long-distance teleportation magic is beyond my control, Ista shook her head sadly. Moreover, such a powerful magical creation must have unpredictable dangers inside. Sir, I do not recommend. Can this power building be destroyed with magic cannons? The Gisyangi knight stared intently at the dragon nest in the void, squinting his eyes and revealing an almost fanatical gaze. Ista stuttered and said, impossible. The barrier of the force field is immune to all damage, and there is almost no way to crack it head on. Even using magic to dispel it cannot do it. Sir, this kind of creation may be related to a powerful existence, or even a legendary spellcaster. Ista looked at the knight in front of her with fear. Afraid of him making irrational actions. She herself is a spellcaster, and the more she understands, the more revered she becomes. She knows very well how terrifying those magical users who step into the legendary stage are. The Gisyangi knight remained silent for a long time before finally speaking slowly, Ista, you are too far-sighted. It seems that you have lost the will to forge ahead by indulging in magic and neglecting martial arts all year round. As loyal servants of the Lakis, I am renowned for my bravery and fearlessness in all realms. When encountering treasures, I will do my best to snatch them. We must not be afraid of everything, that is the behavior of the weak. His pitch-black eyes ignited an undisguised flame of ambition. The magic contained in such a massive magical creation is enough to please the Supreme Queen. The only way to achieve status and promotion in the Gisyangi society is to win the favor of the Lich Queen Varakis. And the only thing that can interest this immortal and powerful witch is magic itself. In fact, as long as you bring this spherical building into the star realm and follow the star tower beacon to enter the city of Tunaras. At that time, even if the legendary powerhouse follows the trail, they will have no choice but to do so. The Lich Queen Varakis has stood for tens of thousands of years, and her strength is no less than that of a true god. Tunaras city is equivalent to the realm of this god-level powerhouse, receiving unimaginable magical blessings over endless years, and is recognized as a super fortress by billions of beings in the star world. This is also the confidence of the Gisyangi people in daring to plunder the plane of the universe. The Gisyangi knight has made up his mind. Ista, activate the activation magic chain to bind this spherical building. Then immediately open the portal and drag this object into the star realm. You arrogant adventurous speculator. Ista cursed incessantly in her heart, but dared not show any emotion on her face, so she had to bow down. She recited a spell, and the tail of the starship immediately opened the hatch, popping out 8 metal chains emitting magical light. Like a spirit snake, it grows infinitely in space and quickly ties a sturdy knot to Oren's dragon nest. The teleportation array at the bow of the ship was also activated at the same time. A green flame flashed in the void, instantly expanding and expanding. So, Gisyangi's starship dragged a huge dragon nest and slowly immersed itself in the green flame rising portal. End of this chapter. Chapter 4. Oren's Adventures in the Star Realm. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 4. Oren's Adventures in the Star Realm, the center of the dragon nest built by power. The young dragon, covered in silver scales, slowly opened its eyelids, revealing a pair of sparkling golden diamond-like dragon pupils. He lifted his head and grinned a long dragon kiss, revealing 2 rows of sharp white teeth and yawning heavily. Oren slept soundly this night. Even in his sleep, he could feel the deep sprouting of his spirit and body, and once again experienced the tingling sensation of the vitality of all things. Youth is so wonderful. Oren sighed. He propped up his body with his forelimbs, pursed his buttocks, and vigorously spread his wide wings, stretching his lazy waist in a cat-like manner. Let's expand the dragon nest again today. He squinted his eyes and lazily pondered. Then go search for space debris. Then manipulate the dragon nest to fly to the nearest star, and with good luck, one may find a planet with life. Of course, Oren doesn't have much hope for this. The universe is vast and boundless, with a vast galaxy stretching for billions of light years. It is extremely difficult to find a star that nurtures intelligent beings. Fortunately, as Oren grows, his innate casting ability will become stronger. When he reaches adulthood, he can even unleash legendary magic that can shake the world. After all, the true dragon is an unreasonable magical creature that can become stronger even when sleeping. Moreover, it is a powerful dragon that surpasses many real dragons. With the power of legendary magic, Oren can locate the stars through the distant void and instantly cross the barrier of endless space to reach the other side. So he is not in a hurry at the moment. For the legendary dragon with a long lifespan, thousands of years of time are just big dreams. However, just as he was daydreaming about the future, a strong sense of discord suddenly struck his heart. Oren's heart twitched and he suddenly lifted his head. His gaze penetrated through the thick and hazy barrier of power and energy, looking towards the void outside the dragon's nest. There should have been a sky full of stars and countless floating carbonized meteorites there. But at this moment, the area in sight was a silver white. At some point, the serene and vast starry sky disappeared and was replaced by an endless sea of silver clouds. The silver radiance is not dazzling, but carries a dreamlike halo. In the distant sky, there are massive gray clouds slowly moving, and strange and narrow black light bands shuttle between the silver glow like hairbands. The whole dragon nest is like a foam in the milk sea, rising and falling in this strange time and space. What place is this? Where did the original space go? Oren lifted his paw and rubbed his eyes, thinking he was still dreaming. In the verification of plain knowledge verification successful. A word jumped into Oren's mind. Star realm. Most likely, this is the star realm. The realm of thought and dreams. The star realm is a gathering place for the consciousness of countless worlds, rumored to be even broader than the material universe, connecting countless outer planes. The heavenly kingdoms are hidden within it. Sleeping trough, how did I come to this damn place? Oren suddenly felt a little scared and trembling. The star realm is not a good place, there are all kinds of ghosts, snakes, and gods inside. If you are unlucky enough to encounter gods and legendary monsters, even if you don't have enough strength to grow your own hair, the young dragon may not be enough to fill the opponent's teeth. It's like entering a super difficult dungeon right out of the beginner's village. Oren had to force himself to calm down and immediately noticed the foreign object outside the dragon's nest. Those are winding metal chains, emitting a faint magical radiance, tightly entwined and clinging to the surface of their own dragon nest at this moment. At the end of the chain, there was a strange spaceship in gray-black color, resembling a shuttle. Silver wings resembling flying birds extend from both sides of the ship, swimming leisurely in this silver sea of light. My own dragon nest was dragged by this spaceship towards an unknown direction. Oren immediately understood. Alright, a bunch of cowardly thieves robbed and hit your dragon grandpa's head. These thieves in the star realm have such a great appetite that they are actually preparing to take him with their dragon and nest in one pot. Oren's anger suddenly rose from his heart. Whether it is a human from a past life or a power dragon from this life, he cannot tolerate outsiders touching his home. He let out a loud roar, suddenly flapped his wings, and his massive body flew out of the dragon's nest, crashing into the sea of silver flowing clouds. As soon as he touched the silver cloud sea in the star realm, Oren felt a strange sensation. Unlike the vacuum in the universe, the interstellar realm is breathable. But what breathes into the lungs is not air, but a sweet and gentle fluid that does not give people a feeling of suffocation or blockage, but rather is quite comfortable. But at present, Oren is not in the mood to explore this wonderful interstellar spacetime. The top priority is to break the chains outside the dragon nest to escape the control of the spacecraft. He observed the spaceship ahead, and since these chains were all shot from the tail of the spaceship in front of him, he decided to directly destroy the spaceship's buttocks and smash all the chains in one go. Oren took a breath that seemed even deeper than the abyss, and a fiery flame faintly emanated from the dragon scales on his chest and abdomen. The massive energy flowed through his veins, and the huge dragon heart in his chest flowed like a reactor, constantly unleashing immense magic. He opened his dragon kiss slightly, and a slight surge of force energy leaked out between his teeth, like a blazing white flame that twisted the surrounding space. At this moment, there was a commotion on the opposite spacecraft, with several heads wearing unknown metal helmets sticking out and shouting at Oren. Their strange faces looked very panicked. But Oren didn't care about them, he devoted himself wholeheartedly to this vomit. He would definitely give this damn thief a lifetime unforgettable blow. The next second, the breathing and charging are complete. Oren's eyes lit up with flames, and the dragon's beak was as wide as a snake's. Suddenly, an exceptionally majestic and brilliant stream of light burst out of my mouth. Unlike ordinary dragon breath, Oren's dragon breath carries a heavy liquid sensation, like fiercely burning mercury, enveloped in incredibly fierce force and fiery energy, blasting towards the tail of the starship. Boom! Without any surprise, Oren's dragon breath tore apart half of the spaceship's hull like a crushing force. The surging flames burned down the wings of the spaceship, and the tremendous force could even overturn the poor little boat, causing 8 chains to break in response. For a moment, the entire spaceship was buzzing around like a headless fly with a burning butt, and screams of agony kept coming and going inside the ship. Feeling comfortable now, Oren nodded his dragon head in satisfaction. I saw the completely out-of-control spaceship crackling with lightning, accompanied by increasingly loud screams, flipping over like a roller coaster in the interstellar cloud sea. In the end, it exploded into a fireworks display on the horizon, not satisfying everyone's expectations. About 20 tall and thin figures bounced out of the disintegrating spaceship. These pitiful creatures with yellow and green skin howled, spinning 360 degrees in the air and flying towards the distance. Watching their miserable situation, Oren, who had calmed his anger, almost felt a hint of apology for these unlucky people. He shook his head and was about to return to the dragon's nest, and a tall figure catapulted from a distance. Oren curiously extended his paw and cast the magic hand of the wizard. A huge, semi-transparent dragon claw made of energy instantly emerged from the void and caught this yellow-green-skinned humanoid creature. This tall and thin monster has a lean yet robust physique, with crystal clear and plump muscles that look exceptionally sturdy. The strange person had some minor bruises on his body, but apart from that, there were no major wounds and he seemed to have just passed out. The armor of the monster looks quite magnificent, adorned with many gemstones and colorful feathers, surrounded by strong magical waves. Behind him was a giant sword that looked quite extraordinary. Although Oren did not recognize the species of this monster, the strong magical radiance emanating from the giant sword could not conceal his dragon pupils. This is obviously a quite powerful treasure. Oren greedily extended a claw toe, ready to pluck the giant sword from the humanoid creature. But before he could touch the giant sword, he suddenly felt a palpitations, and the scales on both sides of his head also moved slightly. As a concrete manifestation of energy essence, the power dragon is extremely sensitive to the fluctuations of various types of energy in various worlds. At this moment, Oren sensed that a vast and magnificent energy surge was born in the far reaches of the star world. At first, this surge was far out in the sky, but in the blink of an eye, it appeared in Oren's field of vision. It looks like a twisted black cloud, constantly devouring the surrounding sea of silver clouds and rapidly expanding and expanding. What kind of thing is this? Oren's heart was filled with suspicion and uncertainty. At this moment, the strange person lying on the side of the mage's hand woke up. The strange man groaned in pain, his body twitching slightly, and he struggled to open his almond-shaped yellow-brown eyes, just in time to see the dark surge coming from afar. The Lockies is up. This is a Kuroshio-level mental storm. Before he could finish speaking, the monster rolled its eyes and fainted again. Due to the inherent language proficiency magic of the power dragon, Oren can understand what strange people are saying. Although I didn't understand what the spiritual storm he was talking about was, the black surge in the distance clearly gave a rather unpleasant feeling. Euron immediately flapped his wings and quickly retreated into the dragon nest, carrying the monster in the mage's hand, waiting for the unknown impact that was about to come. A few seconds later, the Kuroshio was pressing down. The silver cloud sea visible to the naked eye was instantly engulfed by a large expanse of darkness, and the indestructible power dragon nest trembled under the massive impact of dark energy. Oren sat in the center of the dragon nest, feeling the world dim and devoid of light. The heavens and earth reversed and repeated, and countless shattered echoes and murmurs came from the dark clouds and ocean. Even though he had a strong mind and excellent mental resistance, he also felt a sense of unease. The only fortunate thing is that the dragon nest has always been resilient and tenacious, with no signs of collapse in the dark clouds. It seems like a century has passed, and the darkness is gradually dissipating. What followed was an exceptionally magnificent rainbow radiance. The entire dragon nest was like a heavily swung baseball, shooting towards infinity with a loud bang, and then rushing into a huge colorful kaleidoscope. Billions of colors are constantly changing, and the colors are spinning endlessly. Even with Oren's extraordinary physique, he couldn't help but feel dizzy. When he recovered, he looked up again at the outside of the dragon nest and suddenly showed a stunned expression. At this moment, the gates of the various realms are opening layer by layer in front of him. At the end of the kaleidoscope, there is an unknown world. The vast and thin sea of clouds reflects the twilight sunshine, and the vast and boundless land is surrounded by continuous mountains. Oren can even see a deep blue lake. This is not a desolate space or a mysterious star realm, but a real material world with air and fire, water and earth. Oren sat in the center of the dragon nest in a daze, unable to believe the scene before him. Accompanied by a severe sense of weightlessness, the spherical dragon's nest fiercely collided with the end of the kaleidoscope, flying towards the other world. End of this chapter. Chapter 5. Oren Descending from the Sky. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 5. Oren Descending from the Sky. The Hylar Mountains, night quietly falls. The young red dragon descended from the sky and crawled towards a cave. The red dragon is named Angry Flame. Although it is still in its youth stage, its size is already quite large, as if different from a small villa. With just one wing, it can scare adventurers and villagers who don't know how to survive. Angry Flame has golden red eyes, sturdy dragon horns, and a majestic spine crown, with crimson scales as hard as steel. He currently resides in a cave in the hinterland of the Hylar Mountains, surrounded by a dry and comfortable sandy land. There is also a huge lake nearby, which is called Deep Lake by the humans at the foot of the mountain. A large number of purple-black trees grow on one side of the lake. These black trees seem to be even stronger and more resilient than the scales of the red dragon, constantly suppressed by the astonishing force of their anger. So he doesn't like to stroll by the deep lake on weekdays. To be honest, Angry Flame is not very satisfied with his current residence. He prefers the highest peak of the Hylar Mountains. It is a huge volcanic crater. There is a pleasant smell of sulfur and a large number of hot springs that are steaming hot. He and his sister used to live next to each other there. Unfortunately, as they grew older, the size of the red dragon siblings became increasingly large, and their demand for territory also increased. A small volcanic crater cannot accommodate two red dragons. A fierce conflict erupted here. Unfortunately, this war ended in anger being defeated. Angry flames rolled down the mountain range, leaving the house clean. All the accumulated treasures were received by my sister. To make matters worse, angry sister publicly claimed that the entire Hylar Mountains were her territory, and that all creatures on and off the mountain had to pay annual tribute. Angry flames are no exception. Therefore, Red Dragon's younger brother has to hand over 3,000 gold coins and other treasures every year, which is almost the wealth that can only be accumulated after half a year of hard work and robbery by Angry Flame. The Hylar Mountains are not a prosperous transportation hub after all. And since knowing that there are two red dragons on the mountain, travelers and adventurers have taken detours. It seems like it's time to move. Angry and low-hearted, he lifted the dragon's head and looked indignantly at the volcano on the mountaintop. The homeland that had once haunted him, now permanently occupied by his evil and greedy sister. Unfortunately, the areas outside the Hylar Mountains are even more remote and impoverished, and most areas can only enjoy the northwest wind. Angry Flame felt a bit annoyed at the thought of this. At this time, the night was still young, and the stars poked their heads out from the cloudy sky. A rainbow-like strange portal suddenly opened in mid-air. Angry flames glared at the golden-red dragon eyes, looking up at the sky in disbelief. I saw an invisible gap tearing open the void above, revealing a colorful rainbow glow. Immediately after, a huge object emitting a hazy halo, shaped like a full moon, jumped out of the cracks in the sky. Angry flames opened the dragon's mouth wide, watching helplessly as the moon fell into the sky, obliquely brushing against the peaks of Hylar. Countless rocks splashed and then collided with his cave. The entire Hylar Mountains echoed with thunderous sounds, and half of the cave he had been operating for many years collapsed on the spot. No. My dragon nest. Angry flames clasped their faces in their claws and began to howl. Painful memories flooded into the red dragon's head, the grievances of being driven out of the volcano's home, the pain of being exploited by my sister for many years, and the sadness of the destruction of my new home suddenly made this young and energetic red dragon completely furious. Ah! The raging flames roared, flapping their wings and flying towards the falling moon. Lying down, dizzy. Oren held her head in her claws, feeling a whirlwind. When the dizziness subsided, he straightened up and immediately felt a feeling completely different from that in space. That's gravity. The power dragon can clearly perceive the massive gravity well of the planet. This means that the area he is currently in is no longer a vacuum with no force on all sides, but a real planet. Oren was overjoyed and finally didn't have to stay in the space where there were no birds or ghosts. This also means that he no longer needs to drink and eat, relying on gravitational tidal energy and cosmic dust to make a living. Delicious proteins, I'm here. Euron let out a joyful cry and flew out of the dragon's nest. The long-lost fresh air rushed towards us, completely different from the stuffy and tasteless atmosphere in space. The chill of early spring was infused with a faint floral fragrance. The bright moonlight sprinkled on the lush evergreen trees, accompanied by faint insect calls, adding a touch of vitality to this quiet starry night. In the distance, mountains rise one after another, and strange rocks are rugged. A huge lake lies quietly among the mountains like a sapphire, with a gentle breeze blowing up small waves of water, reflecting the bright moonlight. Everything is so vivid and beautiful. Oren was almost in tears. But the next second, a huge roar filled with anger shattered this sacred tranquility, awakening Oren from intoxication. The sound of wings flapping in the air made a huge figure slowly descend. In Oren's stunned gaze, a young red dragon fell to the ground with a loud bang. This red dragon is slightly larger than Oren's body size, with a ferocious dragon head full of violent beauty. Its body is wrapped in smooth and strong muscles, and its red scales sparkle in the moonlight. A pair of golden red dragon eyes, with confusion and anger, stared closely at themselves, as if about to spew out fire. Although somewhat surprised, Oren did not panic, but instead looked at the red dragon across from him with great interest. There are 5 colored dragon races in the world, with different personalities. The red dragon is greedy, the black dragon is despicable, the white dragon is mentally weak, and the green dragon is cunning. Blue dragon. Blue dragon is still successful, as a tribe that advocates order and family, it has many merits. But when it comes to the most representative dragon species among real dragons, there is no doubt that it is the red dragon. Red dragon is the most greedy for wealth and has a great talent in valuation skills. Even if one of the gold coins in the nest is missing, they cannot escape their longan. They are born with financial skills. Moreover, among the 5 colored true dragons, the red dragon has the largest body size, the strongest hand-to-hand combat ability, and will not lose too much to the blue dragon in arcane magic. It also has a highly destructive flame-breathing ability. Among numerous real dragons, the comprehensive strength of the red dragon is outstanding, almost comparable to the strongest golden dragon. Of course, compared to legendary dragon species, it is still far inferior. This is also the confidence that Oren can remain calm and composed in front of the hostile red dragon. Where did you come from, crystal dragon? You and your strange big ball have ruined my home. Angry flames sprayed out a few flames from his nostrils, staring at the young true dragon with silver scales and golden pupils in front of him. You need to immediately compensate me for my loss. 100,000 gold coins, not a penny can be lost. Upon hearing these words, Oren was instantly defeated, so angry that the wing-like folds on both sides of his head stood up. What kind of gaze does this red dragon have, treating me like an inconspicuous crystal dragon? Both types of dragons look completely different, okay? Crystal dragon. Young man, you made a mistake, but I am. Oren was about to correct red dragon's mistake, but the latter interrupted. I don't care where you come from, just say you can't compensate. Angry flames squatted on the ground, with red pleats on their wings also standing upright, emitting dangerous signals. He lifted his left limb, extended a paw-toe, pointed to the collapsed cave, and said, 10,000 gold coins, and then help me repair the nest. Otherwise, you won't want to leave today. Oren rolled his eyes and wagged his tail. Don't worry for now. If it's really your nest that collapsed over there, I will provide appropriate compensation in the future. But as you can see, I just crossed space and arrived for the first time. Where did I get the gold coins to compensate you? I don't care. Angry Flame disdainfully spewed out a burst of fire, and how could you, a young dragon, have no treasure and deceive fools? But if you're not willing to pay the gold coins, I have an alternative solution. The anger on Angry Flame's face gradually subsided, replaced by a greedy and vulgar expression unique to the red dragon. You give me the big ball next to you and tell me how to use it, and our account will be settled in one go. I saw Oren's massive spherical force field, the dragon nest, completely penetrate the rock layers, and most of it sank into the mud. Nevertheless, the strong magical light emitted by the dragon nest still shone brightly like a torch in the dark night. Dragons are inherently magical creatures with innate sensitivity to magical energy. Angry Flame is no exception, and with the financial valuation skills inherent in the red dragon race, he can see at a glance that the value of this huge power sphere is immeasurable. At this moment, Angry Flame appeared majestic and fierce on the surface, but in his heart, he rubbed his hands and began to calculate how to sell and monetize this peculiar powerball. As for whether Oren would refuse, of course, Angry Flame did not consider this issue. The strength of the red dragon is unparalleled among the true dragons of all races. Even if the crystal dragon knows some spiritual tricks, how dare it disobey itself? Of course, the facts were vastly different from what he had imagined. This won't work. Oren shook his head. He was a rational person in his past life and a rational dragon in this life. The big ball you're talking about is actually the dragon nest I built myself, which is equivalent to my home and cannot be sold. When I save up the coins in the future, I will make appropriate compensation for the loss of your cave. But the compensation you mentioned for 100,000 coins is a bit exaggerated, I don't think. Before he could finish speaking, Angry Flame roared again, "What a cunning crystal dragon. You're trying to delay me by pushing around, right? Let me show you my prowess, Angry Flame Grandpa." After speaking, he spread his teeth and claws, his muscles bulging, and flapped his wings to pounce. End of this chapter. Chapter 6. Conquering the Red Dragon. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 6 Conquering the Red Dragon. Oren didn't expect to start the first battle in dragon life as soon as he landed. The red dragon in front of me was huge, muscular, and imposing, swallowing a blazing flame and rushing towards me with a fierce and unparalleled momentum. Then there was a loud bang, and the red dragon's entire head collided with the invisible wall of energy. It was immediately shocked to see stars in its eyes and sat back down. What kind of magic did you use? Angry Flame covered his head with both claws and screamed in pain. Oren slowly lifted one claw toe and lightly tapped the invisible barrier of power in front of him, saying, "This is not an evil law, it's called a force field wall. No matter how strong your power is, it cannot be destroyed. Listen, let me emphasize again that I am not a crystal dragon." Angry flames flew into the sky without listening to Oren's chatter. He crossed the force field wall secretly set by Oren and hovered in the air. What kind of wall do you care about? I definitely can't increase it infinitely, thought Fury fiercely. The young red dragon did not rush forward recklessly this time, but instead accumulated firepower and fiercely sprayed a dragon breath at Oren. Boom! The blazing flame dragon's breath presented a huge fan-shaped shape, enveloped in terrifying high temperatures, and shot fiercely at the ground from mid-air. Instantly engulfed the entire dragon of Oren. The sand and stones on the ground were melted into glass by the raging dragon breath, indicating the high temperature. Why doesn't this silly dragon hide? The angry flame struck successfully, without much joy, only feeling somewhat surprised. But the next scene left him extremely shocked. The hellish flames gradually dissipated, and in the flames, the giant dragon with silver scales and golden pupils, Shiren, walked out. Oluwan was enveloped in a faint and hazy light curtain, seemingly fragile but actually indestructible. This is the naturally skewed force field of the power dragon, which can easily resist sword strikes, water and fire attacks. You don't think this flame is enough to warm me up? Oren sneered, lifting his right paw and pressing it against the angry flame from the air. A semi-transparent giant dragon claw suddenly appeared above the red dragon and quickly pressed down on him. Angry flames were caught off guard and pressed straight, roaring in shock as they were pushed down into the sky and knocked down to the ground. Not right. Isn't this the hand of a zero-ring magic mage? How could a mere trick have such great power? Angry Flame was surprised in his heart, but at this moment, he was blinded by the anger and didn't have time to think about it. He vigorously stirred his strong muscles in an attempt to break free. Amidst the intense roar, Fury still couldn't completely break free from Oren's incredibly powerful mage's hand. He had to slowly rise up with tremendous strength and dragon claws, his huge body writhing incessantly, like a restless cat being held down by humans. Angry Flame was so angry that he raised his head, regained his firepower, and ignited a flame in his mouth, wanting to fire another shot at Oren. Bang! Ah! However, before he could spew out the flames, an invisible yet hard object hit his nose fiercely, causing him to burst into tears in pain. The accumulated flames also exploded in his mouth, shaking his head to a buzzing sound. The nose is already a relatively fragile structure on the body of a giant dragon, and once accurately struck, its sourness is indescribable. What is it? Bricks. Angry Flame turned around and covered his nose, staring at the semi-transparent force that could make the bricks fall on the ground and widen his eyes. Why don't you give it another try? Red Dragon shouted as he covered his nose. He vigorously spread his wings, shrugged his shoulders, almost breaking free from the grip of the ghostly dragon's claws. However, in response, it was another psychic tile from Oren. Pop slammed onto his dragon face covered in scales and armor. The red dragon was suddenly smashed into a mess, with stars in its eyes, and was once again pinned to the ground by the powerful dragon claws. 1, 2, 3 Oren manipulated the ghost dragon claw while calmly tapping his paws, creating transparent force field bricks in the void. He slammed his head and face at the fury flame. Angry flames were smashed and pressed, with a blue nose and swollen face, and a sunken chin. Now the red dragon completely lost its will to resist and collapsed to the ground. Stop fighting. Stop fighting. Angry Flame pleaded for mercy. He lifted his two huge dragon claws to cover his head, and was beaten by bricks, causing him to scream uncontrollably. Are you still crazy now? Oren stopped the bricks, flapped his wings, and slowly took off, asking from a high position. Not crazy. Not crazy. Angry Flame quickly shook the huge dragon head. Are you willing to speak well? Yes, yes. Don't smash it again. Euron nodded with satisfaction, lifted his palm to release the ghost dragon claw, and released the grip on the fury flame. The disheveled red dragon breathed a sigh of relief and struggled to climb up, with mucus still hanging from his nostrils and his two dragon eyes swollen into a slit. He gave Oren a look of grievance, turned over and stood on all fours, revealing his belly to Oren. Oren. This is actually a way for dragons to show their submission. But since Oren was born without parents, brothers and sisters, there is a serious lack of dragon social activities, so it is not clear about this. Even if you turn your stomach towards me, I can't ignore your previous atrocities. Now let's talk about the issue of compensation, said Oren. Angry Flames jumped up and said, compensation. I have already raised my limbs to show surrender. What else are you going to do? Oren complained, you yelled and screamed at me before, and even spewed flame dragon breath to burn me, causing serious damage to my spirit. So you want to give me 300,000 gold coins to compensate for my mental loss. Considering that I collapsed your nest before, I deducted 100,000 gold coins from your price, so you still owe me 200,000 gold coins now. Euron confidently sat on the ground and started to price. Angry Flame was stunned, as a red dragon, he was actually robbed one day. I really can't come up with that much money, said Red Dragon with a dejected expression on his face, and the wing-like folds on his ear also drooped. Then let's take your dragon's nest as collateral. Oren turned his head and looked at the half-collapsed cave. Although the passage outside has collapsed, the living quarters inside should not be damaged and can still accommodate dragons. Of course, the treasures inside must also be left for me. Angry Flames stared blankly at Oren, as if he had been foolish. For a long time, 2 lines of clear tears flowed down his golden red eyes. Oren was frightened and said, Hey. Why are you crying? It's just a nest. You're a young red dragon and have plenty of time to rob. Ah no, create wealth. How can one shed tears when encountering a small setback? Red Dragon seemed even sadder upon hearing this. He lay on the ground, sobbing and wailing like a wild ox falling into a pit. My nest and treasure have already been taken once. It's right at the volcano, my original home. Now it's completely taken over by my sister. Angry Flame choked and replied. And every year, I also give my sister 3,000 gold coins as a tribute. However, there aren't many adventurers coming to this haunted place, and there's only a dilapidated town down the mountain that can't be recovered at all. This cave was gradually carved out by me with my claws and flames, and it is my only and greatest treasure. I can't even live in the cave now. I know I deserve it, but I'm still so sad. Angry flames broke the jar and smashed, howling even louder. Oren wiped his forehead with the back of his paws, wiping away any non-existent sweat droplets. Okay, I admit you're a bit miserable. Even for a red dragon. Alright, I'm just requisitioning your cave and staying temporarily. I won't touch the remaining treasures of yours, Oren said solemnly. But you offended me first, and this cannot be denied. As a punishment, you have to serve me for a period of time. Upon hearing this, Angry Flame immediately became energized and said, Really? It's possible. A powerful and compassionate true dragon, I am willing to become your vassal and vassal. As long as you don't take away my wealth and cave. Euron looked at the red dragon, which was a bit lacking in self-esteem, and said, Alright, it's better to choose a day than to collide with it. Now, you swear by your real name to enter into a contract between you and me, and officially submit to me. The true name represents the essence of a true dragon's soul, and if a master and subordinate oath is made with the true name, it will have magical binding force. Moreover, the true dragon itself is a powerful magical creature, and the oath of true name will become a powerful speaking spirit. Of course, there are many ways to break through such rhetoric. The simplest way is for the true dragon as a follower to become strong enough, even far superior to the true dragon as the lord, and the oath will be automatically broken. All oaths must be based on strength. Oren asked himself, as a legendary dragon, he has an extraordinary soul essence and can naturally crush ordinary real dragons to death. He is not worried about the oath being overturned. Furthermore, he simply needed a local guide to subdue the fury. This world is completely unfamiliar to Oren, and it is a good idea to have an indigenous dragon help him adapt to it. At this moment, Angry Flame also sat up and his face became extremely serious, although there were still bubbles hanging from his nostrils. I hereby declare that my real name is Sulixigen Lokinvirf Mulagafen Drog Akvazand. A true dragon named Oren. I wish to become your servant and acknowledge you as my lord. I will serve you, and you will shelter me. After speaking, Angry Flame gathered its wings and bowed deeply to Oren. The young power dragon spread out its huge wings, its molten gold-like eyes fixed on the earth, and its horns shone brightly under the moonlight. I will fulfill this agreement and be your king. End of this chapter. Chapter 7. First Understanding Amin. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 7. First Understanding Amin. Angry Dragon Nest. The nest of the red dragon was unexpectedly clean, with a huge stone chamber extending in all directions and a wide passage that was quite tidy. The nest is filled with warm and cozy air. At the deepest part of the cave, there is even a small hot spring. The steaming hot air lingers with a faint smell of sulfur, which is quite refreshing and moisturizing for the real dragon. My previous home at the volcano was much better than here. The hot springs there were more than 10 times larger than here. Angry Flame lay on the pile of coins, wagging its thick tail in boredom. Oren lay on a flat and huge rock, located at the top of the dragon nest. A continuous stream of geothermal energy is transmitted from underground to the stone platform, making it very comfortable to dry. Compared to the piercing coldness in space, this place can be called a warm paradise. Angry Flame, haven't you ever considered moving? Oren propped his head with his paws. In a few years, your sister will consider the entire Hylar Mountains a forbidden territory. You still have to confront her head. On. Angry Flames pursed their lips and said, Boss, I've been preparing to move a long time ago, but I don't know where I can move. If I want to seize a prosperous place, I will inevitably have conflicts with humans. But with my current strength, it will be over if I encounter a large-scale military campaign. But since the boss has arrived. The Hylar Mountains are going to have a new owner, right? Do you want me to deal with your sister? Oren glanced at him. First of all, as long as your sister doesn't take the initiative to attack, her affairs have nothing to do with me. I'm just staying here temporarily and there's no need to confront her. Anger Yen was disappointed when he heard the words. Well, boss, you have the final say. But my sister's nest is really big and luxurious. I don't know how much wealth she has plundered these years. Don't you really want to look, boss? How much do you hate your sister? Oren said, anyway, I'm not interested right now. Angry Flame patted its tail in frustration and leaned back. Speaking of which, boss, what should you do with your dragon's nest? It's not a solution to keep it outside the cave entrance. This big thing made entirely of magical energy will eventually cause trouble. Isn't there a lake nearby? Throw it into the lake, and there are a lot of black trees surrounding it as cover. Oren didn't have a perfect way to hide his own dragon nest for a while. By the way, Angry Flame, first tell me about the intelligence of this world. Red Dragon was puzzled and said, Boss, did you really cross over from the outer realm? You don't know anything. I'm not really sure. But as you can see, my dragon nest and I flew out of plane cracks and really have no knowledge of this world. That's really strange, I haven't seen a plane traveler in many years. Angry Flame shook its wing-like folds and began to explain. Boss, the continent we currently reside on is called Amin by ordinary people. In ancient Chinese, it means fire and dust. The mountain range we are in, known as the Hylar Mountains by the people below, is located on the border of the Principality of Isti. The Duchy of Isti was an expanded duchy and can be considered a vassal state of the Kingdom of Jotun. Oren waved his paws and said, Stop. I'm not interested in learning about the human nobility thing. What I want to know is, are there any powerful professionals around here? For example, legendary mages, legendary warriors, and the like. Red Dragon was amused and said, Boss, what legendary powerhouses do you think this place can have? I'm afraid there won't be a golden-level professional in the entire Isti Principality. But I think Isti's country has been a bit unstable lately. Oren curiously said, What do you say? Boss, first of all, you need to know that there are two powerful empires in this world. Nigad in the south and Midhan in the north, said Angry Flame, getting excited. He raised a toe, as if he were a scholar lecturing. Nigad is a theocratic empire that worships the holy emperor Helion and regards him as the lord of creation. The 7 holy thrones of the church exercise the power of creation and govern this kingdom. They view magic as a raging beast and intend to exterminate all magical creatures. They even go to war with us, the true dragons. Midhan is known as the land of miracles and magic, located on the Arctic Ice Sea. It is the ideal homeland in the minds of mainland magicians and is currently ruled by the Golden Sun, Freon. In addition, it is said that legendary powerhouses such as the Burning Rose, Feudora and the Earth Sculptor, Peter are stationed in this country. Oren roast. Are the social foundations of these two countries a little tit for tat? It's really bad for their cultural attributes not to fight each other. Angry Flame nodded and said, That's right, they not only fought, but also fought exceptionally fiercely. 1,500 years ago, Holy Emperor Shilian surrendered his deity incarnation and commanded the 7 holy thrones to attack Midhan. The Battle of Destruction began. Legendary powerhouses such as Freon were defeated by divine might, and Midhan's side suffered heavy casualties. It was not until an unnamed mage who was hiding in Midhan took action and engaged in a close battle with the divine descending body of Helion that the defeat was saved. It is said that the unnamed mage can rain 1,000 miles of fire with just a wave of his hand, and a spell can bring powerful deities from the outer universe to assist. He can also tear apart the curtains of space as he pleases, safely moving cities on the brink of destruction thousands of miles away. He and the incarnation of Holy Emperor Shilian were in a fierce battle. The Great Rift, which now spans across the continent and divides the north and south, was formed as a result of this battle. In the end, Shilian's incarnation disappeared, and the nameless mage was nowhere to be found. Since then, Gisyangi himself has never descended a miracle. However, Midhan and Nigad have formed a deep blood feud. Angry and solemn, he said, so, even dragons like me who don't care about humans have been feeling a bit uneasy outside lately. The smell of gunpowder between Midhan and Nigad has started to intensify again. And the location of the Principality of Isti is quite unfavorable, sandwiched between two huge objects, which may be a bit dangerous. Wait. Oren was a bit puzzled. You just mentioned that Thrawn, the one known as the Golden Sun, existed 1,500 years ago. Legendary powerhouse, it's not surprising to live for a long time. Angry Flame scratched his head and said, it is said that he is a super powerhouse who cultivates both magic and martial arts, and has the title of the world's strongest professional. Oren pondered, as you said, there are gods in this world. So besides the so-called Holy Emperor Helion, are there any other gods? Angry Flame shook his head and said, no, even the goddess Tiamat from our Red Dragon memory inheritance has never left a trace in this world. At least I haven't seen any temple of the Dragon Mother in this world. This is really strange. Holy Emperor Helion is the only deity in this world. Euron forked his forelimbs and said, that's a bit strange. The gods of the heavens have transformed into billions, but have not descended any divine forms in this world. Boss, there's nothing to worry about here. The gods love to surrender, and we real dragons don't need to care about them. The red dragon waved its claws, only weak humans need to embrace the god's thighs. Oren remained noncommittal and asked, Angry Flame, how could your red dragon know so much about history? I can't tell, you're quite curious. No, it's all from listening to an old blue dragon. I haven't had time to rob yet, so I don't have time to learn history. But as a dragon, I have to master some intelligence and secrets. Maybe one day I can still sell money. Oren is quite convinced of this. He stood up, ready to take care of his dragon nest. Suddenly, Oren remembered something and his whole body stiffened. Boss, what's wrong? Sleeping trough, I forgot that there is still a person in the dragon nest. End of this chapter. Chapter 8. The First Manifestation of Longwei. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 8. The first manifestation of Longwei. Approaching late night, the moon rises in midday. Oren plunged into his own dragon nest and pulled something out of it. Angry Flame crawled out of the temporary repaired cave and said, Boss, what exactly happened? Here, that's it. Oren pointed to the humanoid creature on the ground, wearing a silver armor, unconscious, and with a yellow-green skin. Hey! Angry Flames approached, their huge dragon face pressed against the humanoid creature, and their golden-red dragon eyes widened wide. A few seconds later. Kamoyan! How could it be him? Red Dragon exclaimed in shock. Now it was Oren's turn to be shocked. You guys actually know each other. I see, that's why this thing is called the Gisyangi. Do you Red Dragons and the Gisyangi still collaborate? Oren pawed the unconscious Gisyangi's knight, staring curiously at him. Yes, they are an ancient ethnic group in the Star Realm, revered as the eternal ruler by the Lich Queen Varakis, residing in Star Realm fortresses that resemble a divine kingdom. Angry Flames pouted their buttocks and their massive bodies crawled into the treasure pile, searching for something. The Lakis and the dragon god Tiamat have an oath of alliance. Therefore, our Red Dragon clan can join the legion of the Gisyangi people and carry these little ones across thousands of plains to rob. Of course, in exchange, we can take away the loot that belongs to us during the plunder. Kamoyan is my second knight. By the way, my first knight was captured and dissected by an indigenous mage. The risk of plundering is actually quite high. However, the collaboration between me and Kamoyan was quite enjoyable. At that time, I was in my youth and carried him to various exotic places every day to fight and plunder. After the war, I celebrated in Xinjiang, and even met many female dragons. Of course, these female dragons were not cute at all, they were just carved from the same mold as my sister. After getting drunk, they even beat me up several times, said Fury. Later, my sister and I felt that the risk of plane robbery was too high, so we both retired early. The Gisyangi sent us back to the continent of Amin. I never expected to have the chance to see this kid Kamoyan again. After a while, Angry Flame withdrew from the treasure pile and picked up a crystal clear and round small bottle with its claws, which was filled with a rose-red liquid, like fresh pigeon blood. Boss, I found it. Advanced healing potion. Angry Flame exclaimed excitedly. Oren hooked his paw toe, and the bottle of advanced healing potion automatically broke free from the claws of Fury, floating out of thin air and being dragged by an invisible hand to reach Oren. It doesn't seem to have expired, Oren observed as the so-called healing potion reflected a faint divine aura deep within the bottle. He gently scratched, opened the bottle cap, and immediately poured a red liquid with a pungent herbal scent onto the head of the Gisyangi knight. The potion containing life energy quickly seeped into the skin of Knight Cameron. The swelling and bruises on his body instantly subsided, and a warm and holy radiance flashed by. Oren was amazed by the sight, and at the same time, he calculated that although the legendary true dragon is powerful, it is inevitable to encounter some accidents in its long life. It is very possible to bleed from an injury. The importance of healing magic is self-evident. The question is where to learn such healing magic. It seems that there are no such spells in the true dragon inheritance. Just as Oren was pondering, the Gisyangi knights on the ground twitched a few times. Kamoyan, who had been unconscious for a long time, slowly woke up. However, as he struggled to open his eyes, two huge dragon faces came into view. One silver and one red, with towering horns. The poor Gisyangis were suddenly greatly frightened, and a carp straightened and wanted to roll over. Oren immediately lifted his head, but his anger couldn't dodge. The red dragon's already injured nose had a fierce and intimate encounter with Cameron's armor. Oh! Ow! Kamoyan bounced back to the ground dizzy and dazed, with his angry claws clutching his nose and collapsing to the ground. Oren looked at the dragon and the person speechlessly. Just as he was about to speak, Kamoyan quickly recovered. The Gisyangi's knight had a fierce expression on his face, exerted a slight force on his elbow, and his tall and thin body flew a few meters to the side with exceptional agility. He quickly adjusted his posture and landed on his feet. This flurry of movements left Oren stunned. But he naturally wouldn't let this little thing escape from his hands. With a little bit of Oren's paw, a shimmering power ball suddenly appeared, immediately enveloping Cameron's entire body. The elastic ball is Oren's signature magic, and the power field energy is immune to physical attacks, which cannot be broken by a warrior. After being covered by the bouncing ball, Cameron suddenly lost his balance and stumbled like a hamster in the huge power ball. This comical posture made Oren feel a wave of pride. The little thing still wants to run. But the next second, his face changed. I saw Cameron, who was trapped, not panicking. He uttered a deep and powerful word, and his entire body was instantly shrouded in a silver mist. The mist dissipated in an instant, and Cameron in the magic ball disappeared without a trace. At the same time, a white mist emerged from a space several tens of meters away from Oren, and Cameron's figure jumped out of the dense mist. He miraculously crossed time and space, retreating from the completely enclosed ball of magic. Next, the elite warrior from the Gisyangis bent down and kicked his legs like a big cat, leaping more than 10 meters away. Escape from the sides of the two giant dragons in the blink of an eye. What a slippery little mouse. Oren was angry. It was the first time he had discovered that even the unstoppable elastic ball could not control people. The arrogance of the legendary true dragon made it difficult for him to accept the escape of prey. At this moment, the giant dragon with silver scales and golden pupils spreads its wings and roars, shaking the earth like summer thunder. A spiritual pressure that seemed like substance swept across a space of hundreds of meters in an instant, like the waves of the sea. Angry Flame had just recovered from the pain at the tip of his nose and was about to get up when he was affected by Oren's massive dragon power. The huge body was knocked limp by Longwei and fell back to the ground once again. The red dragon looked at the silver giant dragon in front of him in shock. Originally, I thought that my cheap brother was just a crystal dragon with sharp magic, and he was no older than me, but his dragon power was already comparable to a 1,000-year-old dragon with excellent strength. This was actually Oren's first release of the majesty of a dragon, and at this moment, he had a wonderful feeling. The self is expanding infinitely, and all things in heaven and earth are as small as dust in front of him. I seem to be the eternal ruler of this world. The atmosphere, dust and mud, moonlight, dew, sound waves, and even the invisible yet all-encompassing spatial curtain were as clear and visible as the palm lines in Oren's eyes. Space carries all things, while power defines time and space. In his telepathy, the world is filled with a magnificent and vast force field energy, through which all things are interconnected and ultimately form the universe, like a silent yet grand symphony. And Oren himself is the overall conductor of this magnificent movement. In an instant, he felt like he had a sudden epiphany, flapping his wings. The deep energy shook the atmosphere and knocked down Cameron, who was about to escape from the heavens in the distance, to the ground. Camoen was shocked and pale. He struggled to extract the last bit of magic from his soul, awakening the silver mist once again, wanting to repeat his old trick. But this time, his proud spatial jumping ability has completely failed. You should know that the Gisyangi people have been immersed in the energy of the star world for years and are very sensitive to changes in magic and space. Skilled Gisyangi knights like Cameron can tear open the surface of space with their strong willpower, achieving instant movement over short distances. But at this moment, he sensed a majestic energy emanating from the silver scale dragon in the distance, smoothing out every wrinkle in the space and leaving him nowhere to escape. In front of the terrifying true dragon Wei, his steel will, tempered by countless flames of war, was completely pierced like a thin layer of paper. Completely break through the defense. Camoen sat on the ground, limping all over, looking desperately at Oren approaching in the distance. End of this chapter. Chapter 9. Meeting Old Friends. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 9. Meeting Old Friends. The anticipated pain of shattering bones did not come, and Cameron looked up at the giant dragon above his head in a daze. What did I say you ran for? Think about it with your little brain, who spilled medicine on your face and woke you up. Oren said discontentedly, slowly retracting his massive dragon power. He lifted one wing and pointed to the red dragon in the distance, which was dizzy with mosquito-repellent eyes. Do you recognize who he is? Camoen stared blankly at the red dragon and took a deep breath as if waking up from a dream. Vilaki's buttocks. This silly appearance, this low IQ idiocy, is your excellency Angry Flame. Oren. 1 hour later. Your excellency, fate is truly unpredictable and wonderful. Although we are far away from the stars, we still have a chance to meet. In the depths of the dragon nest, Camoen stared blankly at the bubbles bubbling up from the hot spring, his clearly defined face tinged with sadness. The distant red dragon lay gracefully on the pile of coins, rolling its eyes at the Gisyangi knight and saying, "Can you speak directly to me? And it's been so many years since then, why are you still speaking so eloquently? Treat colleagues like brothers, subordinates like whips of admonition, and enemies like merciless flames," said Camoen firmly as he turned around. "We, the Gisyangi knights, are both brave and noble, steel and art are ours. Enough. This is no longer the starport of Gisyangi, who are you reciting poetry to?" Angry Flame listened with a loud roar, interrupting Camoen's lyrical expression. A moment of silence. "Speaking of which, how have you been these years?" In the end, he spoke angrily. Camoen sighed and sat down dejectedly, then jumped up from the scorching rocks. He covered his buttocks and grinned. To be honest, things aren't going well. Angry Flame nodded with satisfaction upon hearing the words. After parting with you, I was awarded the Grand Master Medal, removed from the Sword of Velakis, promoted to a diplomat, and declared the will of the Empress to the heavens and all nations. Where are you in the old parts of the Sword of Velakis? Angry Flame asked. They were all transferred to other teams and then stuffed a bunch of ghosts into me, Kamoin responded coldly. Sure enough, it's clear that you will be promoted while demoted. Angry Flame chuckled. To put it simply, what kind of ghost diplomacy do you, a group of Star World bandits, need? As expected, without me, you will be taken advantage of by your superiors. I can't blame my group of officials, even though they are all just a bunch of losers, said Kamoin with a gloomy expression. He pulled out a carved wooden board from the treasure pile and placed it on the surface of the stone, then sat down. Empress Veraki's will is very clear. In addition to practicing magic and martial arts, our subjects also need to be proficient in various arts. We cannot cultivate in one position for too long unless we are outstanding enough to lack you. The red dragon disdainfully spewed out fireworks from its nostrils and said, I've already said that you guys, the Gisyangi, have no future. You've escaped the enslavement of the Heartbreaker, but in the end, you've fallen into another more indestructible cage. Your Excellency, this statement is a bit excessive. The Empress has an indelible rebuilding grace towards the Gisyangi clan. It is she who has created a vast plain dome deep in the star world for the Gisyangi clan to live in, so that we will not become rootless floating duckweed. Not to mention she is one of the 3 great heroes of our tribe. Kamoin frowned and wanted to organize his words to continue refuting, but in the end, he took a deep breath and said, forget it, it's pointless to say these things now. He changed his tone and said, Your Excellency, how are you and Lord Rongshan living after returning to Amin? Angry Flame Dragon's face collapsed, and Rongshan was his sister's name. The young red dragon now feels uncomfortable all over when he hears these 2 words. Don't mention her. Red Dragon turned his face away and angrily patted his tail, causing the coins to crash and roll. My good sister is now occupying the Fire Mountain Pass. She has taken away all my original home and the wealth accumulated during her service in the Star Realm. Then I have to give her gold coins as a tribute every year. If I can't get them out, I have to replace them with items of equal value. Angry Flame looked aggrieved. I spent several years chiseling out the second nest, and recently, that guy from Rongshan has started to look at her again. I guess she wants to repeat her previous actions and wait for my wealth to accumulate to a certain extent before giving me a whole pot. There was another awkward silence, 1 person and 1 dragon looking at each other without saying a word. It seems that everyone is not doing well. And then, how did you get into trouble with Brother Oren? Red Dragon asked curiously after a long time. Kamoin's face twitched and he immediately remembered the scene in the Star Realm where he was blown up by Oren's dragon breath, causing his ship to be destroyed and his people to die. At that time, I was on a trade mission to a plain merchant stronghold in the universe. It wasn't until I arrived that I realized the stronghold had been destroyed by external forces. Then, not far away, I discovered a huge power sphere, Cameron slowly recounted. The power sphere. Is it the one that Oren is planning to throw into the lake now? I remember this is his dragon nest, said Fury Chi. Oh, I understand. Your kid must be thinking about transporting the dragon nest back to Tunaras City, right? That's right, how could I miss such a massive magical creation? If I could offer it to the Queen to please the Holy See, maybe it would help me get rid of this hopeless position as a diplomat. But I never thought this thing would be Lord Oren's dragon nest. Kamoon looked regretful. When we moved the dragon nest back to the Star Realm, Lord Oren woke up. You can also guess what happened next. In anger, Lord Oren let out his dragon breath and directly destroyed our Star Realm spaceship. Everyone was washed away by the torrent of the Star Realm. But I was lucky. After the spaceship split apart, I was catapulted to Lord Oren's side. He not only didn't kill me, but also saved me. Then I briefly woke up, and unfortunately, we encountered the highest intensity of the Star Realm mind storm. Afterwards, I became oblivious to everything and knew nothing about the outside world. Now, thinking about it, Lord Oren and I must have been thrown into the Star Realm pool after being caught up in a spiritual storm, and descended to the land of Amin through the plane channel, concluded Cameron. It's really a convoluted story. Angry and amazed, but Oren can actually live in space. He's such a talented crystal dragon. Puff. Camoan almost choked on his saliva. Your Highness, how could you think that Lord Oren is a crystal dragon? How could a mere crystal dragon have such great power, able to shape the power field energy at will and forge such an indestructible dragon nest in the universe? According to the ancient records in the Star Tower collection, Lord Oren is likely a powerful dragon. Camoyan's expression was unusually serious. Angry Flame was unclear, so he said, what kind of power dragon? A dragon that can manipulate the energy of the power field. Camoan showed an untrained expression. The power field is a very rare and powerful attribute that involves the essence of all things and space. Its position in magic and spirituality is also crucial. A true dragon that can manipulate such great power at will is by no means comparable to ordinary true dragons. The power of the true dragon is beyond doubt, and given time, it can compete with the god's glory. Angry Flame was startled and said, "Is Oren the boss so awesome?" Camoan looked serious and said, "Do you remember the dragon power released by Lord Oren before? In addition to its powerful intimidation effect, its dragon power even has effects similar to prohibition and dimensional anchor. It can forcibly prohibit the enemy's spatial movement. I have personally experienced that this ability is simply too powerful. Your Excellency, being accepted as a servant by Lord Oren is definitely the greatest luck of your life. The future is immeasurable." Camoyan looked at his former colleague with envy. What a silly dragon with silly blessings. Angry Flame also felt a little happy after hearing this. It's really fake. By the way, Cameron, do you want to go back to the astral world next? Anyway, you Gisyangi knights have the ability of plane travel. Now you can open the portal and go back to your hometown, right? Camoan's face darkened and he said, "No, I'm afraid I can't go back. Lord Oren and I arrived at the land of Amin through the Star Realm pool, which is actually a very rare event. Because 10 years ago, the Gisyangi Star Tower observed a huge anomaly in the continent of Amin. Magic such as portals and plane jumps were in a very unstable state. Amin continent seems to be filled with a strange energy, making it very difficult to cross the plane. Our Star Tower chief has prophesied that within 100 years, the continent of Amin will gradually lose contact with the outer plane and may even become an isolated island in the Star Realm, completely cutting off contact with the divine powers of the heavens." End of this chapter. Chapter 10. The Shadow of the Deep Lake. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 10. The shadow of the deep lake. To the north of the Fury Dragon Nest, there is a huge lake with a diameter of several miles, known as the Deep Lake, by the villagers at the foot of the mountain. The lake is clear and deep, filled with a faint blue mist. On the lakeshore, there grow a large number of tall, shiny black trees. These strange trees have small and dense leaves, presenting a rich green-purple color. The giant dragon with silver scales and golden pupils flapped its sparkling wings, quietly flying under the cold moonlight. Behind him, a huge sphere with a hazy halo floated in the air, swaying leisurely with the dragon. Not long ago, Oren threw Cameron to Fury and asked these two long-separated old guys to have a good conversation. He himself controls the dragon nest with great effort to fly to the deep lake, preparing to temporarily submerge it in the water to prevent any worries during the night. Oren's dragon nest, as a type of power creation, has extremely high strength and light weight. So Oren can easily use magic to drive this giant object with a diameter of about 200 meters into the sky. Moreover, true dragons often have a supernatural connection with their nests. The life magic of the real dragon will continue to mix with the nest, greatly affecting the physical state of the nest. For example, as a red dragon, Angry Flame's nest will noticeably heat up, making it difficult for the surrounding vegetation to grow. When Angry Flame gets older, he can even summon a huge pillar of fire in his lair to defend against enemies out of thin air. For Oren, his control over the dragon nest will be even stronger. He can freely change the internal structure of the entire dragon nest, and even increase or decrease the quality of the dragon nest. When Oren's magic reaches a certain level, he can make the dragon nest as light as a feather or make it heavier than the mountains. This is actually an extremely terrifying ability. Angry Flame's lair was not far from the deep lake, and Oren quickly flew to the vicinity of the lake. At this moment, he began to sense a hidden energy fluctuation. The surroundings of the deep lake seemed to be shrouded in a serene and profound magical power, as resilient and vigorous as grass under snow. Oren couldn't help but take a deep breath of the dispersed water vapor near the deep lake, and a faint yet pure magic slowly entered his body. I'll go, this so-called deep lake may be a node of spiritual veins. Angry Flame, that fool actually sits on a treasure mountain without realizing it. Oren is a bit surprised. He quickly flew over the deep lake to observe. I saw the clear and deep lake water appearing faintly in the misty mist. Even with Oren's eyes, it could not be seen at the bottom for a moment. In the magical vision of the powerful dragon's crown of mortal beings, countless scattered radiance floats and sinks on the lake's surface, as if the original magic is converging within it. This made Oren, who was extremely sensitive to energy, feel an indescribable sense of comfort. Oren was amazed in his heart as he focused his attention and observed the magical flow of the lake water. I saw faint magical fluorescence passing through the mountains and rivers, extending towards the entire Hylar Mountains, centered around the deep lake. The purple-black trees soaked in magic also emitted a faint radiance, and massive energy surged quietly in it. It's really a treasure trove. For real dragons, the stronger the magic in the area where the nest is located, the better. For a powerful dragon that can absorb secret energy, this magical lake is even more precious. I have to settle down here now. Oren smiled with joy, and with a wave of his wings, the immense power of the dragon nest descended from the air to the surface of the lake. Like a hazy moon falling into the water, the powerful dragon nest shimmered with a faint moonlight, slowly sinking into the lake. But soon, the massive buoyancy made it difficult to sustain the descent of the dragon nest. I'm going, how could I forget this? Oren swung his paw and patted his head. His dragon nest itself is very light in weight, with only a few unknown trinkets collected from space inside. The current mass is simply not enough, causing half of the sphere to surface. Just as Oren was pondering whether or not to borrow some treasures from Fury to weigh down this huge dragon nest, a feeling of discomfort suddenly hit his heart. Like honey mixed with stinky tofu, more than 30 uncoordinated smells suddenly appeared in the harmonious magic energy around the deep lake. Oren immediately realized something was wrong. His golden dragon pupils widened and lit up, and soon he spotted a strange group of people and horses in the distant mountains and forests. That's a group of armored humanoid monsters holding various military weapons. Their skin was dry and white, their faces were withered like skeletons, and two faint green flames danced in their deep sunken eye sockets. The armor on these creatures is adorned with dark rust, leaving icy paths where their footsteps pass by. They walked through the grassland, so the plants withered and the flowers turned into mud. They walked through the forest, so the frost climbed up the treetops, and the birds froze and fell. The corrupt energy, so strong that it can be seen to the naked eye, continues to diffuse from this strange team. They have clear goals and are constantly moving towards the deep lake. Oren's nostrils twitched and he immediately smelled a foul smell from the tomb soil. It is indeed a group of undead creatures. Oren spat out a silver flame in disgust, and he gathered his wings to land from the sky, blocking the group of undead creatures. The deep lake has already been designated by him as his own territory, and no one is allowed to touch it. Not to mention such a group of filthy beings. The sudden appearance of Oren caused a commotion in this undead team. Even though they were no longer living, their fear of dragons still penetrated deep into their souls. The crisp sound of a cane strike silenced these undead soldiers. A ghostly creature wearing a black and red robe emerged from the crowd. It holds a bony staff, with a blue ice flame burning at the tip of the staff. The wizard-like creature spoke with a hollow and chilly voice. "Ignorant silver dragon, don't hinder us. What we have done has nothing to do with your clan, leave quickly." The response to it is the majestic dragon power. The silver real dragon with golden pupils suddenly took off, its broad wings shining with the radiance of the new moon, and an invisible tide swept through the void. In an instant, the birds were startled and the swimming fish were diving. Under the immense spiritual pressure, the steadfast and resolute undead creature collapsed instantly, tumbling to the ground. The dead spirit, holding a bone staff and looking like a wizard, couldn't help but take a few steps back. The green flame in its eyes flickered like a candle in the wind. A dark flame ignited on it, barely resisting the terrifying grandeur. The undead holding a bone staff spoke again, his voice still hollow, but with a hint of trembling. "Where are you, the true dragon? We are the apostles of the eternal God kingdom of Ustalan, following the divine will of the Supreme One to come here. Even the powerful true dragon should be feared. It's really ridiculous. A group of corpses emitting a stench dare to falsely claim to come from what divine kingdom?" Oren looked disdainfully at the undead monsters on the ground, constantly increasing his pressure. It's perfect to use these ugly little things to exercise Longwei's skills. At this moment, the soldiers dressed up as ghostly creatures fell to the ground one after another, and the green flames in their eyes extinguished one by one. The fragile spirit of the dead is like paper paste in the majestic legendary dragon power. The wand-wielding wizard persisted. As if on the brink of reaching its limit, the magician let out a mournful roar. "The supreme of Ustalan, the great ruler of ghosts in the world. Please grant me an eternal and indomitable soul." A rich darkness fell from the sky in response, like a thick cloak covering the body of the magician. His breath immediately surged, his whole body hidden in twisted shadows, his body swaying and transforming like waves of water, making it difficult to grasp. Oren was a bit shocked. Just now, he did sense a powerful magic projecting from the distant sky. What is the situation? Does the supreme being in this strange thing's mouth really seem a bit skilled? That dark magic can actually isolate his dragon power, protecting the magical mages on the ground from the influence of pressure. At this moment, the magician suddenly took off and flew back nearly 100 meters like an arrow, hovering on a large tree. It aimed its staff at Oren and spat out a blasphemous phrase. A huge ice-blue fireball shot out from the top of its staff, dragging its frosty trajectory towards Oren. End of this chapter.